Hey, what's up, guys? This is Justin from Gentleman's Purpose Live, also representing Gentleman's Purpose e-magazine, which is being offered for free this month, the November issue. It is on issue.com /Gentleman's Purpose, and I encourage you to go and check it out. We cover all sorts of really cool things, everything from faith to relationships and style, business, dining, books, music, oh my gosh, so much stuff. And and also not to forget the gear and the travel. And so lots of things that us guys kind of have rolling around in our minds, as you well know. And so I want to encourage you to check that book out, and you can subscribe for a year for $24.99, and it'll be electronic. There's lots of great advertisers in there. It is a digital magazine, so you can click the various links in there to discover some new things. You'll find things such as our hot buttons. Our hot buttons allow you to contribute to, ooh, something just happened to my Instagram. What? Hold on, give me 1 second to go live again here. Always got to be some technical difficulty going on, right? All right, let's get this fixed real quick. And ta-da. There it goes. Okay, you're back. All right, so yeah, we are talking about some pretty cool topics this evening, but with regard to getting the November edition of the Gentleman's Purpose e-magazine, I really want to encourage you to read it, give it to the guys you know, and let them be encouraged, let them be helped to discover what their purpose in life is and to fulfill that purpose. And then also in doing so, to keep their balance in all things. Because we as guys, we got, again, so many different things going on. It's very easy for us to, with our one-track minds, to kind of focus on one thing to the neglect of others. And so we are certainly called to fulfill our purpose in life while keeping our balance in all of these things, which is not always easy. And so we need more and more grace. So tonight, yeah, we're going to be talking about a variety of different topics here on the show. We're going to be talking about, of course, why guys like boobs so much and how to manage that. If there was ever a line that was clickbait before, that's it, right? At least for guys, it is. And not that all guys want to actually manage that lustful inclination, but it is wise to do so. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about finding more time to read. The average CEO in America reads approximately 60 books per year. So that's 5 books each month. And so I don't know where you are, or I'm not saying you have to be aspiring to be a CEO of a company or anything, but the idea is the more good seed that you plant into your heart, the more your soul is going to develop, and you'll learn how to discern things better. And the more you read, actually, the better you will be at communicating, both verbally and in written communication. So we have to look at our very busy schedules and find a way to have time to embrace reading more. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. We're also going to talk about 4 pairs of shoes that guys need. We have a life that is very diverse, and keeping a balanced life means that we find ourselves in various situations, engaging in various activities, from business to exercise to just kind of chilling. And we gotta have proper footwear for that, because my pastor, he is actually a Vietnam War veteran. One thing he always says is you have to protect your feet. You have to make sure your feet are comfortable, that they're able to endure. And so having good shoes is super, super important, certainly to a soldier, but also to every man, to protect their feet. And so in addition to that, we are going to be looking at oh, why did that cut off like that? That's not good. Oh. Huh. Where to? Fix that for a minute here. I'm glad you guys are with me and patient with these live shows. They're always so much fun to run into these sorts of things. What happens when you copy and paste, I guess. Let's see. Yes, I'm putting you guys on hold for a minute while I sort this out. And so, if you have anything to want to chime in while I'm doing this, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section. That would be fine with me. And while I get this fixed, oh, it only gave me 200 characters there. All right, so I'll go ahead and just tell you. All right, so the last thing we're going to be doing is going to be talking about where to take a date for an elegant evening on the town here in Palm Beach. So, so all that being said, we'll go ahead and knock that out of the way. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is why are we so infatuated with boobs, and why is that so important to us? And of course, it has to do with comfort and nurturing. And in the beginning, God created man and woman, and he created them in his image. And so the female form is designed to be not only a helpmate to man, but also a comforter to him, and is a representation of the comfort that God gives to us. And God says it is not good for man to be alone, and so he created a suitable partner for him in woman. And just part of a woman is something that we as men don't have, are breasts. And so, so I tell you that because it's important to know why. It talks about it in the scriptures, and that's what we're going to look at tonight. We are going to look at Song of Solomon. This is a song. This is a part of the Bible that is actually a Jewish youngster is not allowed to read this book of the Bible until they are 13 years old. And the reason why is not because it's, you know, like XXX rated or anything, but the poetry is very evocative, and it is very stimulating to the senses as you listen to it. And as a Jewish child, you grow up hearing the Shema, or the prayer that says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one." And this takes that into a very passionate, very real connection between a man and a woman. And so I'm going to go ahead and read this. It's actually going to be a little bit long reading tonight, because it's this man who is looking at his bride, and he is just infatuated with her. He thinks that she's just the most beautiful thing on the planet. I mean, this is like a Romeo and Juliet type of situation. And this is what he writes of her. He says, "Behold, you are beautiful, my love. Behold, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing." You know, when we write poetry back, 2000, 3000, however many years ago that this was written, our imagery is maybe a little bit different, and different word choices than we would choose these days. But anyway, all of which bear twins, and not one of them has lost its young. Your lips are like a scarlet thread, and your mouth is lovely. Your cheeks are like the halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built in rows of stone. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that graze among the lilies until the day breathes and the shadows flee. I will go away to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Depart from the peak of Amana, from the peak of Senir and Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards. You have captivated my heart, my sister, my bride. Now, the reason that he's saying my sister, my bride, not that they were doing incest or anything like that. Solomon had a lot of wives. But he calls her his sister because they are most likely sharing and worshiping the same God, which was not true in all of Solomon's relationships. But for him to call her his sister as well as his bride, it means that he saw himself as her, or as siblings under God. They say God has no grandchildren. You're either a son or daughter of God, and that's it, because the only way that you can connect with God is you. It's a direct relationship. You have captivated my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much Better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips drip nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride, a spring locked, a fountain sealed. Your shoots are an orchard of pomegranates with all choicest fruits. Henna with nard, nard with saffron, calamus with cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes, with all choice spices, a garden fountain, a well of living water, and flowing streams from Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind, blow upon my garden, let its spices flow. And so this is King Solomon just really doting over his bride and just really celebrating her beauty and how attractive that he feels she is to him. And so you have this beautiful picture of a husband and a wife engaging in this kind of dialogue back and forth and building one another up and celebrating this very intimate relationship that exists within God between a man and a woman in marriage. And so this mention of the celebration of her breasts is important because we as guys, we are very visual. So in other words, I think part of the reason that God made women to be so attractive is because men are so visually oriented that a lot of times women are more interested in poetry and talking and these sorts of things, and guys have to have that initial visual connection to connect. I don't know why that is. God just made us that way, and it is something to be celebrated, but it also is also something not to be taken too far into some form of a sinful state. And so the point of this is to equip and build you men up to be wise about how you steward these gifts that God gives you. We talked a little bit last night about sex drive and how that took King David down a very rocky path. So tonight we're looking at his son, King Solomon, celebrating his wife. But this same king of Israel also finds himself reflecting and writing down things that he learned through wisdom and shared in his Proverbs. He says this because there's always some sort of a temptation out there. The serpent is always trying to pull a guy off track, and women off track. So we need to be aware of wisdom and how we navigate this world with snake lessons and dove lessons, how we move in the world and move out of the world without getting ensnared in the world, and maintain our purity and our innocence in the sight of God with a pure conscience. And so he says this in Proverbs. He says, drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. And he's talking about this spiritual connection that occurs between a husband and a wife, but can occur between a husband and an adulteress, or a husband and someone that he's like running around on his wife with, which is not what you're supposed to do. And so the encouragement is to see your wife as this spring of pure water from which you drink from, the one who you open your heart to and you receive from God these flowing waters that come from her. So he says, drink water from your own cisterns, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets, let them be for yourself alone and not for strangers with you. In other words, you want to protect your wife. You want to make sure that she knows that you love her, and that once you take her as your wife and she takes your name, that you don't give her reason to take your name in vain, but rather you are refreshed from your own fountain and not someone else's, and make sure that she's not out there, in a situation where she is the object of refreshing other men. Why should your springs be scattered abroad and streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone and not the strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. A lovely deer, a graceful doe, let her breasts fill you at all times with delight, and be intoxicated always in her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman, and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all of his paths. the iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline. We see beautiful women and we suddenly say, oh, well, this woman is a little bit more shapely than my wife, and so I'm just going to run off and be with her and it'll be okay and nobody will ever know. And you just don't understand that way, that path leads down to death. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. So many families are wrecked in this day and age because men do stupid things because of lack of discipline. They cannot keep their attention and their affections upon their wife. And part of the reason that happens is they don't take the time to celebrate their own wife's beauty often enough. And in doing so, reminding themselves how grateful they ought to be, because a man who finds a good wife finds a good thing, and it's a gift from God. And so just want to encourage you with that, because again, we are visual creatures. But we also have a tendency to slip into adultery. We have a tendency to slip into fornication. We have a tendency to slip into, even in this day and age with technology, everything, into pornography and all sorts of stuff that can get a guy off track. And what we want to do is we want to be the types of men who who walk in integrity, and who are the types of men who build up and protect and care for our wives, and value the marriage covenant that is intended to reflect the relationship between the Messiah of Israel, the Holy One of Israel, Jesus, and his bride, his church. And so that's so vital. So again, might have been a little bit of clickbait, but it's an important lesson that we as guys need to be reminded of continuously, seemingly. And so I want to set that before you. And then the next thing that I wanted to kind of talk about tonight was going to be finding more time to read. Now, this is a kind of a pretty big deal. When I was in North Carolina. Oh, by the way, if you guys have noticed, I would change the oil in my car the other day, and I was wearing my hat and got a little smudge on it, and so I think I was due for a new hat anyway. But now I'm pretty upset that it happened. But anyway, so yeah, finding more time to read. This really happened for me when I was in North Carolina. I was encouraged to rest more. A word from the Lord came to someone who was ministering to me, and so I started exploring that. And a big part of what I started doing on my Friday evenings and my Saturdays was reading. And the more and more I read, it was fantastic, because it influenced the way that I wrote and and my passion for writing, because I was able to kind of see and understand where other people were coming from. And I would read things that were very simple and kind of almost SEO, search engine optimization oriented, written for men, very short bursts, short paragraphs, so to hold the attention, things written by guys like Don Miller. But then Don Miller would say, this is very practical reading, but here is something that's like kind of like chocolate. So you have something that is like kind of dessert that's very very evocative, and it's kind of like what we read tonight in Song of Solomon. And he directed our attention to a writer by the name of Annie Dillard, who wrote some amazingly, deep stuff. And just, if you want to read something that just is artistic and vibrant in visualizing things and stuff, most blogs and stuff we read today, they're just, our attention span is so minimized these days, because we have so much coming at us all the time, that the fewer calories that we have to burn in actually most of the time. But sometimes when you sit down and you just want to saturate in the beauty of the skill of writing and hearing the skill of a writer, Annie Dillard, she won some amazing awards for some of her writing. And so there are things like that. But the idea is that we have to be intentional about carving out time for that. A big part of that in my life has been, I don't do cable or anything like that anymore. I basically get my news via the various social media streams, maybe watch a movie on Netflix every once in a while. But as far as plopping down on the TV and watching a bunch of sitcoms and stuff, I just don't do it anymore. And so that opened up a lot of space within my time frame to be able to read more. And so if the average CEO in America can read 5 books a month, then guys, we ought to be, picking up at least 2 to 5 books a month, and reading through those and thinking through those, and even getting involved in book clubs where whenever you read something and you can actually discuss it with other people, it's awesome. That's one of the things I like about doing Bible study and going to men's Bible study groups on Saturdays, where it's really interactive and we can kind of share how the things that we're reading in the various books of the Bible are impacting our life. And of course, I encourage you to read the Bible, but it doesn't have to be the Bible. There's a lot of great books, great authors out there. And again, part of applying the things that we learn in the Bible is to be able to discern other things that we read outside of the Bible and how they can influence our lives in a positive way or in a negative way. And so we need to be able to understand how to do that, to discern. And so that is a pretty important thing for us to do as men, is to increase our vocabulary, our writing skills, our concentration skills. Reading is something that is not just for 5th graders anymore. What is that? That there used to be a show or something called "Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?" Most of us aren't, because we stop reading after high school because we don't have to anymore. But I think that it's good to be encouraged to read more. And so that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on here to footwear. Let's see here. There we go. There it is. All right. So these are four pairs of footwear that I think that every guy should have. The rainbow sandal, especially if you live in Florida, is one of the best sandals that you can possibly buy. They've been making sandals for forever, and these were huge back in the day when my dad was a surfer in Daytona with my Uncle Jack and stuff like that. And so these are just classic. They're usually about 50, 60 bucks, but they will last, and they are just fantastic. The other thing that I want to point out there are, anytime you get involved in athletics, running or tennis or things like that, New Balance they make a fantastic shoe. They are great running shoes. Not only that, but if you're not doing running, maybe you're doing tennis or you're doing racquetball. New Balance just does a fantastic job of making sure that your sports shoes have a good arch in them and that your feet stay healthy and comfortable. So I want to go ahead and give them a shout out as being a great brand and a company that produces a very high quality product. Next, I want to kind of go over here to the Keen. These are some mid-high hiking boots, and I got turned on to these things, and they're awesome. And I mean, when you're talking about actually hiking through the woods, protecting your feet, waterproof and stuff like that, splashing around in maybe some canals or splashing around in some creeks and stuff, these are just a great pair of shoes, very durable. And so you definitely need to have those guys for out there doing work boots. If you're out there working all day, you need to have some comfortable shoes that are going to keep your feet dry, and you're going to be able to be good flexibility and things. So Keen makes a great shoe. The mid-high hiker is a fantastic shoe. And then the last one there are these Cole Haan. Makes a wonderful dress shoe. I usually go for black with my dress shoes, whether I'm wearing a gray suit, a black suit, a navy suit. Typically a black shoe goes with all of those. Here in Florida, we sometimes have a little bit more of a Cuban flair and have a light colored suit, in which case you can get these same shoes in a tan color. And again, just a fantastic dress shoe, very stylish and very comfortable, very well made, and just a great shoe. Actually, I heard about Cole Haan originally when I first became a stockbroker and had to start actually dressing up for work. Prior to that, I pretty much, I grew up working in my mom's restaurant, turning wrenches at Andy's gas station, filling station down there with Gator, the ASE certified mechanic, and maybe working at the mall and selling cars and those sorts of things. I guess I had to wear dress shoes when I sold cars for that summer. But anyway, so these are 4 shoes that I think that every guy should have. Doesn't have to be specifically those particular models of those shoes, but those are some great producers of high quality products that you will be happy with. And so yeah, so those are good. And then finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about date night, because again, we've been talking the last couple nights about this passion that we ought to have for the woman that God gives you as a bride, and even in the dating scene, in order to be able to connect with and woo a woman who deserves to be treated right. Taking a woman out to dinner and caring for her and showing hospitality and gentlemanly behavior is so vital. And so you don't want to front like you're something that you're not. But if you're not those things, if you can't be gentlemanly with a woman and take a woman out to dinner and to have proper etiquette and manners and those sorts of things, then that's something that you ought to work on as well. And we can talk more and more about that as we kind of progress with the show and with the magazine. So some great restaurants here in Palm Beach. I know that if you go to PGA National Resort and Spa up on PGA Boulevard, PGA National Resort and Spa has some fantastic restaurants on site. You can call and talk about making reservations there. Just a fantastic place to go and have food, and just a great place. And they also have a spa, so if it's a day thing with the wife, you can actually go and get a massage together and these sorts of things, and have a great dinner. And just so PGA National Resort and Spa, check that out. They got a couple restaurants on site that I would recommend that you check out. I'm a huge fan of Legal Seafood. I actually, when I graduated, I ate at Legal Seafood at City Place. There's also it's still in the one in, was it a Boca Town Center Mall? Legal Seafood has fantastic food, and just the atmosphere is really cool as well. So I really enjoy going there. Of course, it's more of a chain when you think of, and I guess that's kind of a chain too, but of course, Cheesecake Factory in Boca is fantastic, a wonderful place. If you want something kind of quaint and kind of romantic but kind of family owned, mom and pop, there's a place called Frankie's. It's an Italian place in Boynton, and it is a very nice place. And it's one of those places though, you kind of walk in and you know everybody, and you can have a really nice Italian meal with some great wine, and the atmosphere is kind of low light and stuff like that. So just a beautiful place. So those are just a couple of ideas. There is, of course, various places. They're not doing brunches so much now with the whole COVID thing. I called around to find a place that was still doing brunch, and there's not very many of them out there. I think Batch up in West Palm is still doing brunches on the weekends, and so those are always fun to take a date on. So those are maybe some ideas for you. I would certainly encourage you to maybe look at some ratings, which you can pick up online, and of course talk to your friends and find maybe some other locations that are good suggestions to take a date, or to take your wife on a date. I would encourage you to share those with us at Gentleman's Purpose, so we can maybe connect with the owners and maybe go in and do a review. And yeah, I think that would be very cool. So that pretty much wraps up tonight's show. And if you have any questions about any of these things, feel free to email me at Justin at Gentleman's Purpose, Justin at generalmediaconsulting.com, and I would be happy to respond to you. I also want to encourage you to again go to issue.com/Gentleman's Purpose, and go ahead and check out the magazine and let me know what you think about that as well. So have a great night. This is Justin Gaynor signing off.